How Qatar funds pro-Palestine indoctrination in U.S. schools. This is a topic that's very interesting to me because the area of soft power and foreign influence that I am more familiar with is in the Iranian sphere. And within the past year, I have realized that I need to be paying a lot more attention to what the hell is going on with Qatar. They're on my shit list. So we're going to dive into this a little bit, but there's a lot. It goes way deeper than this. So, a growing body of evidence suggests that Qatar is waging a stealth influence campaign in US schools, using its state owned Qatar Foundation International, or QFI, to funnel at least 1.5 billion into US universities and K through 12 education since 2012 through grants, teacher salaries, and Arabic cultural and language programs. QFI has embedded pro-Qatar and pro-Islamist narratives into school curricula with lesson plans that downplay other religions, especially Judaism, and portray Qatar in a glowing light. Critics argue that this effort violates the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA, as it's known, with the Lawfare Project warning that, quote, students are learning about the Middle East in a biased way that emphasizes only the positive aspects of Islam while omitting a balanced discussion of other religions or belief systems. Programs funded by QFI also include trips to pro Palestinian cultural events and Al-Masdar, an Arabic language education platform described as an open education resource library, but accused of pushing Qatar's ideological agenda. With increasing pressure on the Department of State to enforce FARA regulations, watchdog groups are demanding that schools benefiting from Qatari funding register as foreign agents, a move that could expose the true extent of Doha's grip on American classrooms. So, what I wanted to focus on here was more about the influence in the K through 12 space. Um, we have a large body of evidence regarding Qatari influence on our universities. Um, Long story short, the Qatari government is straight up buying influence in our top universities in America, um, through a variety of means. But that is a giant topic in and of itself. And I want to wait a little while to like cover that topic in full. So I just wanted to talk about K through 12. So this happens in a couple ways. One thing that's the first thing that's important to understand is that the Qatar Foundation is the Qatar Foundation International, QFI, is the international wing of the Qatar Foundation, which is a straight up government run nonprofit. So it is the Qatari government's nonprofit working internationally. And try to they frame themselves in a pretty dishonest way. But that's what it is. It is a state-run nonprofit that is operating and donating internationally. And they're donating millions of dollars into K through 12 educational programs. And so this includes a bunch of things. This can include things like programs and modules that teach about Arab language or Arab cultural practices or general Arab culture or Arabic Honor Society. It could be for school trips. It could even be funding teachers to travel to events in Doha, like the World Innovation Summit for Education. And if anyone is familiar with how the Chinese government operated the Confucius Institute as a wing of its soft power and ideological infiltration into United States, it basically works very similarly to the Confucius Institute. A very similar model. And so what's so problematic about this is that there are lesson plans that have been part of these educational issues that have been in K through 12 schools where one is titled Express Your Loyalty to Qatar. um
What?
yeah. Um
That is
and
so direct, though.
yeah, another one, and this is what's really bad, is a lot of its lesson plans are used for like so there's one from the Zinn educational project materials. This, for those who are not aware, derives itself from the work of Howard Zinn, who most people regard to be basically a historical revisionist. Um, by the way, when I was in high school, my US history course that was supposed to be taught at an AP US AP US history level, meaning that I'm supposed to be getting college credits should I pass a certain kind of test, at my school was taught out of Howard Zinn. So me personally, I got my education on American history from Howard Zinn. Um, but that's a whole different thing. So one example of how insidious this is that one of these Zinn lessons plans was called Who's Terrorism? The title of it is Who's Terrorism? And I
Oh
actually
no.
briefly read over the author of this lesson plan. Um no, it's not the lesson plan itself, it's the author talking about his experience implementing the lesson plan. And basically, it's this whole lesson plan where you completely relativize terrorism. And in this article I was reading by the author of this lesson plan, he talks about how he is successfully ensuring students completely implement moral relativism towards terrorism. And um that basically that just terrorism is in the eye of the beholder, and one party could see it as a righteous act. um in fact, let me pull this up and maybe I can find a juicy quote really quickly. um then there's all these other issues where in some of these Qatari lesson plan on the map of the Middle East, there Israel is eliminated from the map. Instead of Israel, it just says United Palestine on it. um
Wow.
which is just patently anti-Semitic. And let me find the number, because is there a total number of how much has come in over the past couple years? um Okay, in 2017, the Wall Street Journal reported that the Qatar Foundation and the QFI had given 30 million to dozens of schools over an 8-year period. But that was last reported in 2017. And we have many reasons to and evidences that this is not something that just happened back then. This is still ongoing. Um, Let me see. Another organization, Open the Books, has been studying this. They found some data that Qatar distributed over $700,000 between 2017 and 2024. So that's some of the newer funding. Um, and basically they're trying to just implement an Islamist influence into K through 12 education.
And a woke influence too. Like there are a lot of it's bizarre that the Qatar is responsible for funding a lot of Islamic ideologies, anti-Semitic, anti-imperialist ideology. But I mean, that's why actually. But also woke, like they've pushed Islam and woke. I mean, do people know how much of the spread of woke in the United States was backed by Qatar? Is this public knowledge, or people aware of this in the chat?
Well, part of it is just very patently obvious through instances like AJ Plus, for example. But then another
Oh,
aspect of it goes back into their funding of universities and their wholesale funding of entire Middle East studies departments. Um, which if eh, In the audience, please tell me if you'd be interested in me doing an unpacking of what's going on with Qatar in the university level, because in terms of the popularization of pro-Islamist and anti-American scholars, entire university departments can heavily be tied to sponsorship of Qatar, to the point that I have colleagues that think that some of these university departments are violating FAIR regulations.
And Qatar is a major U.S. ally. This is like so bizarre. Like United States has, and this is public information. Like this is none of this is hidden. So United States allows one of its major allies to come and using media and education to spread anti-American propaganda in within the borders of the United States. And it's just like happening, and like yeah, and they're still treating Qatar like an ally. I mean, to be fair, United States can't do much about it because Qatar has become such an important uh, negotiating leverage. It has a shit ton of gas that gives a lot of leverage. It has a lot of political power. So, I mean, guys, Qatar is the greatest, I think, funder of woke ideology in the world. And Trump, even recently, just like a few days ago, praised Qatar. Like Trump, that is supposed to be anti woke, just came out and recently, and I was like, what is happening? Is Qatar like changing its ways? That's why Trump is praising them. But like, no, they're still at it. I was like, no, they're completely, they're still at it. So like, why is Trump like? Do the anti woke people who voted for Trump know that Trump is praising, aggressively praising the main funder of woke ideology? I don't know.
Dude, I think like the Qataris are like one of our biggest backstabbers right now. Um, I
Right.
personally am interested in studying their influence on much deeper level. Um,
And also
here's a
another, I forgot one important leverage they have is the air bases. American, like the United States cannot do. It's very strategically important militarily. The military bases that United States has in Qatar. So I think Qatar knows that it could get away with shit like this, because it's just like, yeah, what are you gonna do? You need your military bases in our country. You need our gas, and you also need us for negotiation because we have become so important in connecting people. We might be flirting with evil, but that's a good thing for you, America, because sometimes you need to negotiate with evil, and we are basically the bridge. So there you go. But go on.
yeah, it's a dog eat dog world out here. Here's a quote from the creator of that lesson plan I mentioned, who's terrorism. He's talking about basically how he influenced these students that he was teaching, and kind of reflecting on the feedback that he received from students and some of the quotes from the students. And he says, quote, "My interpretation, the more students understand about the exercise of US power in the world, both military and economic, the less likely they are to want to extend it." And this is like a goal of his. And it's just very clear when you read through this man's like entire conceit. Now, personally, there are some people that would like that and appreciate that. That's contrary to my goals and biases. Um, but that's my view, and I don't pretend that it's not my view that I want America to be a leader. So, um,
I mean, partly, I agree with Susanna here. She's so correct about that. But the reason why we want America to be the leader is because the alternatives are shit. Not because, I mean, we would love to live in a world where there were more alternatives to U.S. hegemony, that United States didn't have to lead the world. But if it's not U.S., then you want China to fill that gap, because that's horrible, right?
no, it kind of reminds me of something that happened during the Doge congressional hearing on U.S. aid, was Marjorie Taylor Greene was going off on like, oh, USAID is why is USAID funding 9 out of 10 news organizations in Ukraine? What's going on with this? And then she asked Mr. Roman of the Middle East Forum directly, it's like, should the US taxpayer be funding propaganda overseas, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, yes, if it's pro-American propaganda, yes. And I'm
I
like,
mean,
you know
maybe
what? I love the consistency. You know, you have a view, you have a bias, and you're just being frank with it, and you're not apologizing for it, you know? Like
they
you
shouldn't. Like you
explicitly
should.
want America's interest. And that's what it is, okay? You're honest about it. People can dislike that. And a lot of people dislike saying it that frankly. But if that is your interest, you know, come out and
I
say
mean,
it, you know? I
pro-American propaganda I mean, propaganda is not inherently a bad thing. Okay, propaganda could be advocating for something that is the correct position. So, I mean, I completely agree that the United States should be more aggressive when with spreading pro-American propaganda around the world. I mean, their enemies are constantly spreading anti-American propaganda around the world. If you don't respond with pro-American propaganda, then you're going to lose the soft power game. So you should
yeah.
be spreading pro-American propaganda. I mean, they have been doing such a poor job at it. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, let's
I
get
mean,
to
it's
something
like, yeah,
else.
you're literally speaking to the leader of a think tank whose explicit, like, stated mission is to promote America's interest in the Middle East. Like, what kind of what kind of answer do you think you're gonna get? I don't think that was the answer she was looking for. Where he was like, "Hell yeah." I don't know. I just thought that like
Right.
little instant was like kind of funny because I was like, that was clearly not the answer to the leading question you were asking that you wanted.
Right,
Um,
like why, like, guys, why do you think Qatar is doing this? Do you think like they're like, oh, we just hate America, so let's spread anti-American no, all of these actors are self-interest, in like have self-interest. They're doing this because they understand the importance of soft power. Saudi Arabia understands this, Qatar understands this, China understands this, Russia understands this, European countries understand this, everybody, the Islamic Republic understands this. And then when it comes to the United States, you guys were like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. Like, okay, like, then Qatar, then what is going to be your response to Qatar spending exercising its soft power? I mean, my point is the fact that all of these countries are doing it is because it's effective. It's a leverage you have over other countries, and United States shouldn't fall behind. Like the people who want America to stop doing this, then everybody is going to be doing it, and United States won't. So United States is going to be falling behind, and then other countries will be able to set the narratives. They're going to be deciding what the world thinks. If you're not present in shaping people's opinions around the world, then other people will decide for you what those opinions are going to be. Anyways.
yeah. Oh, I just also want to give a plug that this is why I support legislation like the Deterrent Act and also the Trace Act. So the Deterrent Act is in regard to university level funding and ensuring transparency, that if foreign actors are funding scholars or departments of universities, that they have to disclose it, because we have had very weak enforcement of the current laws regarding that so far. In fact, the time that we had the best enforcement of that was under the previous Trump administration. And then actually, Biden kind of shut down some of the Department of Education transparency databases into that. I'm going to be fully honest, guys. Another in Deterrent Act was recently reintroduced in this legislative session. I think it left committee recently. And then I also really like legislation like the Trace Act, which also left committee recently. And the Trace Act is basically legislation that would mandate that schools make it transparent and easy for parents to understand if elements of their child's education has been funded by foreign actors. Um, and the whole point of both of those pieces of legislation is transparency and accountability. I think that that is a nonpartisan issue that helps all Americans, ensure, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess security from our ideological adversaries. Um, so Yeah, that was just my plug. Um,
Let's do the comments and then
okay. Well, we
go
got
to.
a comment from Durga. Hi, Durga. It's good to see you. She gave a super sticker.
Thank
Durga
you,
is my
Durga.
fellow nerd secret researcher.
Wow.
um, and
Wait, we
oh, the
forgot
comments
to do
from
these.
sorry.
Yeah.
Um, So Insurrection Barbie is saying Qatar literally funded $6 billion into our elite universities, and 6 years later, half of college campuses side with genocidal terrorists, and et cetera, et cetera. I would have to fact check that dollar amount, but I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so this person is replying, I know, right? If all these claims about Jews running the world are true, they're doing a terrible job.
That's what I'm saying.
Really, you guys need to be on your A game. It's time to lock in.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism at major universities, Israel surrounded and attacked by Muslim nations, Muslims shielded by media with Islamophobia BS accusations. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As much as I
Jewish
celebrate
media control really fell off.
yeah, the conspiracies are so the opposite of what they should be. Like I said, as much as I celebrate Israel for its military capabilities, for its technology, for being so advanced in the scientific community, and also for the level of entrepreneurship that is spread in Israel. Like there are so many things to love about Israel, but when it comes to you know m- controlling the media, they absolutely suck at that, right? Like that is one thing that it's so funny how the conspiracy is that they control the media, where that's exactly where they need to do better at. Okay, anyways, but let's continue.
Um okay, this is a comment where I cannot tell if this person is sincere or joking. But they're saying Qatar is so wealthy and powerful, I expect it's the Zionist front. Like, I legitimately, I don't know if that's serious or not. Like, I don't know. Because this is the level of analysis that I'm used to at this point.
Right.
Um, this person was tweeting about the issue of the influence in our education systems, and this person is saying enemies in every corner of the world, and America has to bomb and nuke all of them so Israel can enjoy the expansion of their criminal hegemony around the world till they destroy what's left of America. Too, that's the plan.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.